Hi, this is Doreen McCafferty from Holistic Wellness from Within. And today I really want to talk to you about something that's near and dear to my heart because I think we all go through so many things together, and often we don't understand that we're not in this alone. And certainly you think that your practitioner, your doctor, the person leading you on this journey many times doesn't understand or isn't going through many of the same things you are, but that's simply not true. So today I'm going to talk to you about how it is so difficult for all of us to find and maintain momentum. So, first of all, I just want to tell you that we all suffer with this. I do too. I know the things I need to do. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know what sidetracks me and how I get off track. I know all those things. And I go through the ups and downs and the roller coaster as well of constantly trying to be consistent in my actions, doing what I need to do to stay on a good wellness journey. And I think a lot of you go through that too. So today, first of all, and just forgive me when I look down. I actually have even have my glasses on in case I need them to read my notes. But what I want to talk about first of all is what holds you back, what keeps you from getting started, and then what holds you back. So here's what I hear all the time when people are working with me on a mineral balancing program. Many times they come in gung ho and they're all ready to start. And some of them start very, very, very quickly and fall off the wagon very soon after they get started. Other people start very slowly and then pick up momentum. And some people are just very steady and consistent all along the whole spectrum. And of course, that's probably the best way to be, right? Not too quick, not too slow, but just kind of maintaining a pace that we can maintain and what works for us. And a lot of that does depend on our personalities. So I'm not here to tell you how fast or how slow you should move. I just want to give you some guidelines here. But when you first go to get started, we put things off. Procrastination is probably the biggest thing that we do. If we haven't started a program yet, if you haven't reached out to get your hair analysis, you're just putting it off and procrastinating. And why do we do that? Well, we do that because, oh, vacation's coming up, or I have, summertime activities, or a holiday's going to come up. I'll do that after this day or after this time. And when we do that, we're just putting off the inevitable, which is we need to get started and we need to start somewhere. So now is always the time to get started. If you can do anything, just start now. If I work with you and I start giving you information and you need to start implementing that into your life, you don't have to do it all at once. But putting off the initial process of getting started is just prolonging the journey that you need to go on to get well, to find healing, and to find optimal wellness. So, first of all, stop procrastinating. Get started on a program. If you're on a program, retest. Retesting is crucial for me to look at and go over with you where you're at. What's happened, what is happening, what's changed, what we need to change in your program, what you need help with, where you need more motivation. All those things can be discussed when you retest. And so a retest is typically done every 3 to 4 months. And, in 3 to 4 months, we need that little boost. We need to either get pushed back in to get back in line and get back on that wagon, or we just need that little push to continue. Either way, we do need the information that the retest provides, which is crucial to make sure your program's correct, and you're going to need that motivation that comes with your retest. So please make sure you understand that. Now is the time to get started or get with that retest. Now, once you've done that, you're either started or you've been on your journey. Some of you have been on it for years. What is it that takes you out of the game? Now, this is different for everybody, but I think you need to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and write down. Just start brainstorming. What takes you out of your game? Is it a holiday? Is it a celebration? Is it a bad habit? What is it that demotivates you or sidetracks you? And then you don't get back on course. So let me just give you a few examples here. First of all, again, it can be an event that sidelines you and takes you out of your game, and then you don't come back. It's not so much the celebration of a holiday or an event or even a vacation. It's that once those things are over, you don't get back on track. They sidetrack you for way more than just the day of the event or the week of vacation. So setting those limits for yourself to get back on track and maintaining as much as you can of a good program while you're in that celebratory or you're off track for a little bit while you're in that mode. That helps as well. So I always tell people, just take your supplements. Maybe for a week you're not going to eat the way you know you should. Take your supplements. You don't have to stop everything. Maybe you're not going to be able to do some of your additional protocols that you're used to doing. Get back to doing them as soon as you can. But again, do the minimal that you can to at least tell yourself and keep your mindset that, hey, I am doing my program. Maybe not all of it. Maybe I'm not doing it very well, but I'm going to come back to it. So that's one of the things that takes us out of our element. When we travel, a lot of you have jobs that cause you to travel. It's okay. Work around those things and just keep coming back to the program as much as you can. Now, the other thing that sometimes sidelines us are habits. We either have really bad habits or we don't develop good habits. So I'll give you an example of what happens in my life because I have a very flexible schedule. I like having a flexible schedule, but because I have a client that I train twice a week very early in the morning, I teach yoga a couple times a week, not as early, but still in the morning. I have, all these different things that every day looks different than the next. And then depending on how much work comes in, how much work I have to do. Sometimes I work over the weekend, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have to take a day off in the middle of the week to have an appointment that I need to take care of. So I love it. I love having a flexible schedule, but it can be very, very hard to be consistent with things that you're doing when your schedule is very flexible. So for example, fitting in meditation. When am I going to meditate? Am I going to meditate when I first get up in the morning? Well, I'm not going to do that on days that I have to train my client real early. I can tell you that right now. I don't really like getting up any earlier than I have to. And I'm not a really late sleeper, but just those early mornings when I get up to do that, I do my morning routine and I'm out the door. So I'm not going to take extra time to meditate. I also found that I really like to walk in the morning before I really start work and sit down to work. And that walking is part of my meditation. I don't consider it my meditation, but it's part of my meditation, being out in nature, doing all those things, and then coming home and going right into my meditation so that before I really get started on the work part of my day, which I tend to start later in the day than maybe some of you, and sometimes whatever, I work later or on weekends to make up that time because I do work a fair amount of hours. But anyway, the point is I like to have that flexible schedule, but I have to really, every day, I come up with my to-do list and structure myself, or these things that are so important to me don't get done. So in the month of July, and even starting sometime probably in the middle of June, I live near the beach, 5 blocks from the shore. And therefore, in the summer, it's like having an Airbnb in my house. I have company in and out all the time. My family's here for a week. I have, just stuff going on. And I'm going to the beach all the time. And I get off track. I don't get completely off track. But this year, what I found I didn't do my meditation the way I needed to. I was busy running around, or there were people here all the time, and I wasn't setting aside that time to get into meditation. And because one of the things I personally struggle with is limiting beliefs, I have a lot of negative energy that sometimes comes into my body through negative beliefs that I'm going to talk about in a moment, how you can kind of combat those. then that at the end of when things start to settle back down, I settle back into a little bit more of a daily routine. I realized that I was just mentally not in a very good place. It was my own fault because I had neglected meditating, not for a day or two, but taking off way too long meditating. And so right away, I went into a challenge of meditating every day, which I've been now doing some mantras for the limiting beliefs that I've been suffering with, turning my mind around because I was starting to go into some deep, dark places. I know what those look like for me, and you might know what they look like for you too. And so I go back to my resources and get myself back on track. Now, I'm a very type A person, so I do that. On my own, I can do that. But some of you don't do that on your own. So, the other thing I want to talk to you about is finding a motivator. And as your lifestyle practitioner, I can be that motivator. Reach out to me when you're going through something, when you need to get back on track, when you're going through a healing reaction. Look, healing reactions look like illnesses many times. People think they're getting sick. Some people don't want to stay on a program because their program looks like this. It's up and down all the time. They're not feeling well. And then they think, oh, this isn't working, when actually it's really working very well, which is why you're having healing reactions. But it's not always pleasant. And so if you're one of those people who you don't know how to work through those things, reach out and ask for some assistance. Ask for some encouragement. Tell me what you're going through and let me help you work through that. Let me help you get back on track. Let me look at what you're doing or what you can add or what you can change, what you can do. Especially if you're between tests, you need to be doing or maybe making a few changes that we can do until you're ready to retest. And then we'll take a deeper look at what's going on and maybe make even bigger changes. So reach out. If you don't have a friend, if you don't have a counselor, if you don't have a spouse, if you're on this journey and you feel alone on this journey, especially if you feel alone, reach out because I do free follow up. I don't charge for it. So when you reach out and ask for help, I'll be glad to help you. And that's different than what I call my coaching program because that's more of a regular check in, maybe even submitting journals or food diaries. That's a completely different program. But occasional free follow up that we all need when we just need that virtual hug because I might not be with you physically, but please reach out and let me know what you need, what you're going through. Let me tell you what resources might help. Let me get you back on track and keep you there. Again, the momentum. Sometimes that momentum is rolling like a snowball going down the hill and it just keeps picking up speed until we just crash because we just did so many things all at once and we couldn't keep it up. And so then we end up doing nothing. And then again, the other times, the opposite of that is going so slow that we don't even know how to find the road. And we feel like if you're on the highway and you're going 20 miles an hour, you feel like you're going to get run over. So you need to have more momentum, more speed. We need to find that medium, that place where it works for us, where we can do it, but we can also maintain it. It's so important to be able to maintain, to be able to continue what you've started. So please let me help you with that. I'm here to help you with that if you need assistance. I'm here to help you get started. When you do a retest, I always go over the things I see you're doing and the things you need to add. So I go over that with you so that hey, this looks really great, but this needs work. And that's why I ask more questions when you come back to do a retest than I do when I first start you in a program. And again, if you're overwhelmed when you start a program, get in touch with me if you're new, because again, I try to give you incremental steps to get started. Now, the other thing that we often do is a lot of times we throw out the baby with the bathwater. So let's say we're following mineral balancing program, nutritional balancing information. You're following me and I say something you don't like. Or you hear something from a doctor or another practitioner that you don't like and you just think, I'm not doing this. That's not me. It's not who I am. Please don't do that. This is happening in today's world all the time. We are not learning to take the good and leave the rest behind. That is the best information I can give you when it comes to understanding maybe what somebody else is sharing. You are not going to agree with me 100% of the time, and I'm not going to agree with you 100% of the time. You're not going to probably agree with anyone 100% of the time. It is okay to exercise your personal right to personal decision. It's also okay to continue to follow the things you agree with and ignore the things you don't. It's what I do. When I work with you, I'm here to share. And I will tell you honestly, if you ask me about a certain procedure, a certain supplement, whatever it is, I'll give you an honest opinion about it, an honest recommendation. If you choose to do something other than what I recommend, I'm not going to kick you to the curb. And I don't want you to do the same with me. So if I say something, if it doesn't, sit with you well, let me know. Give me some feedback or ignore it. Come back to the things that resonate with you. Do that with everybody in your life. Start learning to listen, to follow the things that resonate with you, and let go of the things that don't. Yes, sometimes people need to be removed, but sometimes we're removing people without even having a discussion with them. Sometimes I have clients disappear and I don't know where they went. And I reach out and I still don't hear from them. And it's really very, I have to learn to let that go because it can be very distressing to me because I want to help people. I love my clients. Each and every client I get, I seriously really pray and spend time over that client, their program, wanting to help them and be there for them. And so when they just disappear, sometimes it's heartbreaking and I don't always know why. So I get it. Sometimes you're doing something else or trying something else. Please reach out. Let me know where you're at. Let me know if you need help. I would still love to work with you. Again, I can meet you where you are. And if we're really at a path where you need to go one way and I need to go another, this has happened before, then I just honestly say, I don't think you're a good client for me to continue working with. So, that's fine. You need to go ahead and go that route. And that's just not an area I think I can continue to mentor you through. And so we just need to part ways, at least for now. If you change your mind, come back. I'm always here. So that's possible. But most of the time, it's just a matter of understanding that there's give and take. We're not always going to agree with one another, and we can still work together. All right. So that's how it is. I have clients that are on, oh my gosh, that are, full speed ahead, 100% doing, I wouldn't say 100%, but some of them are doing 95, 99% of what their program it calls for. But most of them aren't. Most of them are doing less than that. And so they're somewhere on the spectrum. I get it. I get it. I know that not everyone's doing everything. It's okay. And it's okay to tell me you're not doing everything. I still love you. I still want to work with you. I still want to help you. I still want to help you do better. And I still want to be here to encourage you. So one more thing in closing. This is something I went through just recently. So just due to personal things in my life, a lot of things going on in the world that we're all experiencing right now, I found myself in a very negative space. Again, I wasn't meditating the way I needed to, and I needed to work on that. But I also was doing something that I now label as looping. And that is where a certain negative thought is in your mind, and you find yourself looping through that thought all day. In other words, you see it, you feel it, you kind of express it, it's bad, you try to release it, and an hour later it's back, and it just kind of keeps coming back. And you're like, geez, I kind of want to just get rid of this. I did, and I do have a recommendation that might help many of you who are looping. And I'll probably talk about this again, even in another short video, because I really want to just share how this has helped me. And it's lithium orotate. You can get it from Endement Laboratory, and you can take one every morning. It takes my brain out of the loop. So when I started back into my meditation practice, I was having a really hard time, and I just kept looping even during the day, even after meditating. And I started on some lithium orotate, and it's really helped. And it doesn't have to be taken forever. I'm taking it right now, and I'm going to take it for a week or so, and then I might take it just if I find myself still in that loop. I'm not going to take it every single day, maybe. So I'm going to kind of take it as needed, being in touch with what I'm feeling and knowing when I feel I really need it, when I don't. So I would, if you're experiencing that, if you're going through some looping where the brain is stuck on some negative fixation, you might want to try some lithium orotate. Again, you can get that as my client directly from the laboratory, or if you're not a client, you can order it from my website where the Endemit supplements are for sale. If you have any questions about anything I shared with you, please let me know. I look forward to helping you. I want you to come into the program. I want you to find momentum. And more than ever, I want you to keep it. And I want to help you keep it. I want to motivate you to continue. And I can only do that if you reach out and we work together. So let's work together to take you to a better place of health. You can always find me at holisticlifestyleconsulting.com. And I'm always here to help you. Thank you so much. I love you all from Holistic Wellness from Within.